My husband died years ago. Every month I sent his mom $200. But then, the envelope felt heavier than usual in my trembling hands. $200. Cold, hard cash that could have bought my daughter new shoes, paid for her art supplies, or filled our empty refrigerator. Instead, I was standing in front of apartment 712, my heart pounding like a drum, sweat dripping down my back, even though the hallway was freezing cold. I raised my fist to knock on the door, but then I heard it. A man's laugh. Deep. Familiar. The kind of laugh that used to make me smile when I was cooking dinner in our tiny kitchen. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard in 3 long years because my husband, Ezra, was supposed to be dead. My hand froze in midair. The envelope slipped from my fingers and fell to the dirty carpet with a soft thud. Through the crack under the door, I could see shadows moving. 2 people. Maybe 3. And that laugh came again, followed by my mother-in-law's voice saying, "Ezra, pass me the salt, baby." Everything went black for a second. My knees buckled, and I grabbed the wall to keep from falling. Ezra. She just said Ezra. My dead husband's name. The man whose funeral I attended. The man whose grave I visited every Sunday with our 6-year-old daughter, Naomi. The man I'd been sending money to support his poor, grieving mother for 3 whole years. But he was in there. Alive. Eating dinner. Laughing. I pressed my ear against the cold metal door, my whole body shaking. I needed to hear more. I needed to know I wasn't going crazy. "Ma, this chicken is perfect," the man's voice said. It was him. I knew that voice like I knew my own heartbeat. "Just like you used to make when I was a kid." "Of course it is," Ruth, my mother-in-law, replied. Her voice was warm and happy, nothing like the sad, broken woman who answered the door every month when I came to deliver the money. I used Naomi's money to buy the good chicken from the butcher shop. The expensive one. They laughed together. Both of them. Laughing about my money. About my daughter's money. I stumbled backward, my vision blurry with tears. The hallway suddenly felt like it was spinning, the lights too bright, the walls closing in on me. I turned and ran toward the stairwell, my footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. I didn't stop running until I reached my car in the parking lot. Sitting in the driver's seat, I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My breath came out in short gasps. This couldn't be real. This had to be a nightmare. But the envelope was still missing from my purse, lying on that dirty hallway carpet like evidence of my stupidity. Now, before I tell you how I got here, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you want to hear the rest of this unbelievable story, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when my life was normal. When Ezra was alive, or at least when I thought he was. 3 years ago, I was Sarah Mitchell, a happy wife and mother living in a small apartment in Dallas. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Ezra worked at a construction company, and I cleaned houses to help make ends meet. We weren't rich, but we had each other, and we had Naomi, our beautiful little girl with her father's dark eyes and my curly hair. Life was simple. Wake up, make breakfast, kiss Ezra goodbye as he left for work, drop Naomi at school, clean houses all day, pick up Naomi, make dinner, help with homework, tuck her into bed, and fall asleep next to the man I loved. Every single day, the same routine. And I loved it. Then came that Tuesday morning in March. The morning that changed everything. I was making pancakes when the doorbell rang. It was barely 7 in the morning. Ezra had just left for work 10 minutes earlier. Naomi was still in her pajamas, watching cartoons on our old TV. When I opened the door, 2 police officers stood there, their faces serious and sad. My stomach dropped immediately. You know that feeling when you just know something terrible is about to happen? That's what I felt. "Mrs. Mitchell?" the older officer asked, removing his hat. "Yes." My voice came out as a whisper. "Is there somewhere we can sit down? We need to talk to you about your husband, Ezra Mitchell." The pancakes burned on the stove while they told me the news. There had been an accident at the construction site. A crane had malfunctioned. The load it was carrying had fallen. Ezra had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. They said he died instantly, that he didn't suffer. I remember Naomi running into the room, asking why the police were there, asking where Daddy was. I remember picking her up even though she was getting too big to carry, and I remember her little arms around my neck as I cried into her shoulder. The funeral was 3 days later. Ruth, Ezra's mother, wailed so loudly at the cemetery that birds flew away from the trees. She threw herself on the casket, screaming about her only son, her baby boy. I had to comfort her even though my own heart was shattered into a million pieces. After the funeral, I learned about the debt. Ruth came to our apartment one evening, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She sat at our kitchen table, the same table where Ezra used to drink his morning coffee, and she told me something that made my blood run cold. "Sarah, baby," she said, holding my hands in her wrinkled ones. "I need to tell you something. Something Ezra was too ashamed to mention." My heart started beating faster. "What is it?" 6 months ago, Ezra came to me. He needed money. Said he owed some people, and they were threatening him. He was scared, Sarah. My boy was scared. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I gave him everything I had. My entire savings. $24,000. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. "What? 24,000? For what?" Ruth shook her head. He wouldn't say exactly. Just that he'd made some mistakes, got involved with the wrong people, and needed to pay them back fast. He promised he'd return my money within a year. He was working extra shifts, doing side jobs. But then, she couldn't finish the sentence. "Then he died," I whispered. She nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. "And now I have nothing, Sarah. That money was supposed to be for my old age. For my medical bills. I have diabetes, you know. The medication is expensive. And my rent keeps going up. I'm all alone now. My only son is gone, and I'm broke." Guilt crashed over me like a wave. Here I was young and able to work, while Ruth was old and sick and alone. Ezra had taken her life savings and then died before he could pay it back. In a way, that made it my responsibility now, didn't it? "I'll help you," I heard myself say. "I'll pay you back. Every cent." Ruth's eyes widened. "Oh, Sarah, I couldn't ask you to do that. You have Naomi to take care of." "Ezra would want me to," I said firmly. "He'd want his mother taken care of. I'll send you money every month. It won't be much, but I'll send what I can." That's how it started. $200 every single month, handed over in a white envelope. At first, Ruth tried to refuse it, but I insisted. It felt like the right thing to do. The honorable thing. The thing a good daughter-in-law would do. The first year was the hardest. I took on more cleaning jobs, sometimes working 12-hour days. I bought clothes for Naomi at thrift stores. We ate a lot of rice and beans. Our apartment was always cold in winter, because I kept the heat turned down to save money. But every month, without fail, I had that $200 ready. Ruth's apartment was on the other side of the city, in an old building that smelled like boiled cabbage and cigarette smoke. Every month, I'd make the 40-minute drive, climb up to the 7th floor because the elevator was always broken, and knock on her door. She'd always answer looking tired and sad, wearing the same old black dress she'd worn to Ezra's funeral. She'd invite me in for tea, and we'd sit in her dim living room surrounded by photos of Ezra from when he was a baby, a teenager, a young man. Sometimes she'd cry, and I'd hold her hand and cry with her. "You're such a good girl, Sarah," she'd always say. "Ezra was lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have you." Those words made the sacrifice worth it. I was helping family. I was doing what was right. I was being the person Ezra would have wanted me to be. But I started noticing strange things after the first year. Like how Ruth never seemed to actually be sick. She said she had diabetes, but I never saw her take insulin or check her blood sugar. She said she could barely afford rent, but her apartment was full of new things. A new television, new curtains, new furniture. When I asked about it, she always had an explanation. "Oh, this old TV? My neighbor was throwing it out. Can you believe it? Perfectly good television. Or these curtains? I got them at a yard sale for $5. Such a bargain." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Because if I didn't, then what was I doing? What was I sacrificing for? The second year got harder. Naomi needed glasses. Then she needed braces. My car broke down twice. Our refrigerator died, and I had to buy a used one from a guy on Craigslist who charged me way too much. But still, every month, I had that $200 ready. I started working nights at a diner to make extra money. I'd sleep 4, maybe 5 hours a night. Naomi would wake up for school and find me passed out on the couch still wearing my waitress uniform. She'd make her own breakfast, get herself dressed, and wait for me to wake up to drive her to school. "Mama, you're always tired," she said one morning, her little face full of worry. "I'm okay, baby," I lied. "Mama's just working hard so we can have nice things." But we didn't have nice things. Naomi's shoes had holes in them. Our apartment was falling apart. I was exhausted all the time. And every month, $200 went to Ruth. Then came the third year. That's when everything changed. That's when my neighbor, old Mr. Peterson from apartment 3B, said something that made me start questioning everything. I was getting my mail one day when he stopped me. "Sarah, can I ask you something?" "Sure, Mr. Peterson." He scratched his gray beard, looking uncomfortable. "It's about that lady you visit every month. The one in Building C, apartment 712. My heart skipped. "Ruth? My mother-in-law." "Yeah, her." He lowered his voice. "I got a friend who lives in that building. He told me something weird. Said there's always a man coming and going from that apartment late at night. Young guy, maybe 30-something. Thought it was strange for an old widow lady to have a young man visiting at midnight." I forced a laugh. "Oh, that's probably just her nephew or something. He helps her with stuff." Mr. Peterson shrugged. "Maybe. Just thought it was odd. My friend said he's seen him there a lot. And the guy has a key." That conversation planted a seed of doubt in my mind. A nephew? Ruth had never mentioned a nephew. She'd always said Ezra was her only child, and she had no other family. I tried to push it out of my mind, but it kept nagging at me. So the next month, when I went to deliver the money, I paid more attention. The building looked the same, smelled the same. The elevator was still broken. But when I reached the 7th floor, I heard something that made me freeze. Music. Coming from Ruth's apartment. Not sad, soft music like you'd expect from a grieving widow. But loud, happy music. And voices. People laughing. I stood outside the door, confused. Was Ruth having a party? I knocked, and the music immediately stopped. There was scrambling inside, whispers, footsteps. Ruth opened the door just a crack, her face flushed. "Sarah, you're early." I checked my watch. "No, I'm right on time. It's the 5th of the month, same as always." "Oh, right. She squeezed through the small opening in the door, not letting me see inside. "I'll take the money out here. The apartment's a mess. I'm embarrassed for you to see it." In 3 years, she'd never refused to let me inside. "Are you okay?" I thought I heard voices. "Just the TV," she said quickly, snatching the envelope from my hand. "Thanks, Sarah. You're a blessing. I'll see you next month." She shut the door in my face before I could say goodbye. I stood there, staring at that closed door, my mind racing. Something was wrong. Something had been wrong for a while, and I'd been too trusting, too tired, too guilty to see it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mr. Peterson's words. About the young man with a key. About Ruth's strange behavior. About all the new things in her apartment that she claimed were free or cheap. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work, dropped Naomi at school, and drove back to Ruth's building. But this time, I didn't go to her apartment. I went to the building manager's office. "Can I help you?" asked the manager, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. "I hope so," I said. "My mother-in-law lives here. Ruth Mitchell, apartment 712. I'm worried about her. She seemed off lately. I was wondering if you've noticed anything unusual." The manager's expression changed. "You're Sarah? The daughter-in-law who comes every month?" "Yes, that's me." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Honey, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mother-in-law has been lying to you." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "She's not poor. She's not struggling. In fact, she paid her rent 6 months in advance, in cash. And she's not alone. There's a man living with her. Young guy, maybe in his 30s. Black hair, tall, has a limp in his left leg." The room started spinning. Black hair. Tall. A limp in his left leg. Ezra had black hair. Ezra was tall. And Ezra had developed a slight limp after hurting his leg in a basketball game 2 years before he died. What does this man look like exactly? My voice didn't sound like my own. The manager pulled out her phone. "I have security footage. Building installed cameras last year because of break-ins. Let me show you." She scrolled through files and then turned the phone toward me. The video showed the 7th floor hallway. Date stamped 3 days ago. Time, 11:47 p.m. A man walked down the hallway toward apartment 712. He was wearing a baseball cap pulled low, but I could see his face. My hand flew to my mouth. It was Ezra, my dead husband, walking, breathing, alive. The manager kept talking, but I couldn't hear her anymore. Everything sounded like I was underwater. I watched the video again. And again. And again. Ezra pulled out a key, opened the door to apartment 712, and went inside like he lived there. Because he did live there. My husband wasn't dead. He'd been alive this whole time, living with his mother. While I worked myself to exhaustion. While I sent the money every month. while I raised our daughter alone, telling her daddy was in heaven watching over us. Ma'am? Ma'am, are you okay? You've gone pale. I looked up at the manager. Can you send me that video? Sure, but. Send it to me right now. Please. She did. My phone buzzed with the message. I stared at the video file, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Thank you, I whispered, and then I ran out of that office. I sat in my car in the parking lot and watched the video maybe 50 times. Each time I saw something new. The way he walked. The way he held his shoulders. The silver watch on his left wrist that I'd given him for our anniversary. It was him. It was definitely him. And that's how I ended up here, 3 days later, standing outside apartment 712 with an envelope of money in my hand. I'd planned to confront them immediately, but I needed to be sure. I needed to hear his voice. I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. And now I had it. I'd heard him laugh. Heard Ruth call him by name. Heard them joke about using Naomi's money to buy expensive chicken. I sat in my car, my whole body trembling with rage. 3 years. 3 years of working myself to death. 3 years of telling my daughter her father was dead. 3 years of crying at his grave. And he was alive. He was alive and hiding and stealing from us. My phone buzzed. A text from my boss asking where I was. I ignored it. Another buzz. Naomi's school saying she forgot her lunch. I ignored that too. All I could do was stare at that building, at the 7th floor window that I now knew held my living, breathing, lying husband. The question wasn't whether he was alive anymore. The question was why. Why would he do this? Why would he put us through this hell? And what was I going to do about it? I gripped the steering wheel, my mind racing with possibilities. Should I call the police? Confront him? Tell Naomi? My thoughts were spinning out of control when I noticed something. A woman was walking toward the building entrance. She was young, maybe 25, with long blonde hair and a tight red dress. She was carrying shopping bags from expensive stores. And she was heading straight for Building C. I watched her enter the building. Then I watched her get on the elevator. My heart pounded as I waited to see which floor she'd go to. The elevator stopped on the 7th floor. No. No, no, no. I jumped out of my car and ran toward the building. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my lungs burning by the time I reached the 7th floor. I burst through the stairwell door just in time to see the blonde woman knocking on apartment 712. The door opened. Ruth stood there, but she wasn't alone. Behind her, I could see Ezra. My husband. My supposedly dead husband. And he was smiling at this woman. The kind of smile he used to give me. Hey baby, the blonde woman said, walking past Ruth and straight into Ezra's arms. Miss me? He kissed her. Right there, in his mother's apartment, in front of his mother, my husband kissed another woman. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't move. Ruth saw me first. Her eyes went wide, her mouth dropping open. Sarah. Ezra turned. Our eyes met. For a second, nobody moved. We all just stood there in the hallway, frozen like a photograph. Me, staring at my dead husband who wasn't dead. Him, staring at the wife he'd abandoned. The blonde woman, confused and looking between us. And Ruth, caught in the middle of the biggest lie I'd ever experienced. Then Ezra did something I didn't expect. He smiled. Not a guilty smile. Not an apologetic smile. A cold, calculated smile that told me this was all part of his plan. Hello, Sarah, he said calmly, like we'd just run into each other at the grocery store. I think we need to talk. The hallway felt like it was shrinking around me. My ears were ringing so loud I could barely hear anything else. But I could see everything perfectly. Too perfectly. Like my brain was taking a photograph of this moment to torture me with later. Ezra stood there in the doorway, wearing a black t-shirt I didn't recognize and jeans that looked new and expensive. His hair was longer than he used to keep it, almost touching his shoulders. He had a beard now, thick and dark. But those eyes. Those were the same eyes that had looked at me on our wedding day and promised forever. The blonde woman wrapped her arms around his waist, pressing herself against him like she owned him. She was beautiful in a way that made my stomach hurt. Perfect makeup. Perfect hair. Perfect body in that tight red dress. Everything I wasn't anymore after 3 years of working myself to death. Ezra. My voice came out small and broken. You're alive? He leaned against the doorframe, so casual, so relaxed, like this was normal. Clearly. That one word. That single word said with such coldness made something snap inside me. 3 years of grief, of exhaustion, of guilt, of pain all exploded at once. Clearly, I screamed so loud that doors opened up and down the hallway. Neighbors poked their heads out to see what was happening. Clearly, you've been dead for 3 years. I went to your funeral. I cried over your grave. Our daughter cries for you every single night. The blonde woman looked confused. Babe, who is this crazy lady? Babe. She called him Babe. She called my husband Babe. I'm his wife, I said, my voice deadly quiet now. I'm his wife. And who are you? Her face went pale. She looked up at Ezra. Wife. You said you were single. You said. Amber, go inside, Ezra said calmly. No, Amber, don't go inside, I said, stepping closer. Stay right there and listen to this. This man you're with? He's married. He has a 6-year-old daughter named Naomi. 3 years ago, he faked his own death and let his wife believe he was gone while he hid here with his mother. And for 3 years, I've been sending his mother $200 every month because she told me he owed her money before he died. Amber's mouth dropped open. She shoved Ezra away from her. Is this true? It's complicated, Ezra said. Complicated? I was screaming again. What's complicated? You're either dead or alive. You're either married or single. There's nothing complicated about this. Ruth finally found her voice. She stepped forward, her hands reaching for me. Sarah, baby, please calm down. Let's talk about this inside. The neighbors. Don't touch me. I jerked away from her. Don't you dare touch me. You've been lying to me for 3 years. Taking my money. Crying about being broke while your son was alive and living with you. I can explain, Ruth said, tears streaming down her face. But they looked fake now. Everything about her looked fake. The sad widow act was gone, replaced by something desperate and guilty. Explain? I laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. It was the sound of someone losing their mind. Explain how you cash my checks every month? Explain how you looked me in the eye and lied? Explain how you let me work myself to death while you and your son laughed at me. By now, there were at least 10 neighbors in the hallway, all watching, all whispering. Someone had their phone out, recording. I didn't care. Let them record. Let the whole world see what these people had done to me. Ezra sighed like I was being annoying. Like I was the problem. Sarah, if you'd just calm down and listen. No. I cut him off. No, you don't get to tell me to calm down. You don't get to tell me anything. You're dead, remember? Dead people don't talk. Obviously I'm not dead, he said, and I swear he almost rolled his eyes. That's when I lost it completely. I lunged at him, my hands reaching for his throat, wanting to hurt him, wanting to make him feel even a fraction of the pain he'd caused me. But Ruth grabbed me from behind, holding me back. Let me go. I thrashed in her arms. Let me go. He deserves it. He deserves worse. Amber was backing away, looking terrified. I didn't know, she kept saying. I swear I didn't know. Of course you didn't know, I spat at her. He's a liar. That's what he does. He lies. Mr. Chen from apartment 709 stepped forward. Should I call the police? Yes. I shouted at the same time Ezra shouted. No. We stared at each other. For the first time since I'd seen him standing there alive, I saw something flicker across his face. Fear. He was afraid of the police. That gave me an idea. A wonderful, terrible idea. I stopped struggling against Ruth. I stood up straight, smoothed down my hair, and took a deep breath. When I spoke again, my voice was calm. Dangerously calm. You're right, Ezra. We should talk. Inside. Just the 3 of us. You, me, and your mother. He looked suspicious. Why? Because I deserve an explanation. Don't you think? After everything I've done? After all the money I've sent? After raising our daughter alone? I deserve to know why. Ruth loosened her grip on me. Sarah's right. We owe her that much. Ezra looked at Amber. Go home. I'll call you later. Are you serious right now? Amber's voice was shrill. You have a wife and kid and you're just. Go home, Amber. Ezra's voice was hard and cold. She flinched, grabbed her shopping bags, and ran toward the elevator, her high heels clicking on the floor. The neighbors slowly went back into their apartments, disappointed the show was over. Soon it was just the 3 of us in the hallway. Come in, Ruth said quietly, opening the door wider. I walked into that apartment like I was walking into a courtroom. My hands were shaking, but I kept them in fists so they wouldn't see. The apartment looked completely different from how I remembered it. The last time I'd been inside, it was dark and depressing, full of old furniture and photos of Ezra. Now it looked like a completely different place. There was a huge flat-screen TV on the wall. Leather couches. A fancy coffee table. The kitchen had new appliances. Everything was clean and modern and expensive. Nice place, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Must have cost a fortune. Oh wait, it did. My fortune. Ezra closed the door and locked it. That sound, that click of the lock, made my skin crawl. I was locked in here with two people who had spent 3 years lying to me. Two people who had stolen from me. Two people I didn't know at all anymore. Sit down, Ezra said, pointing to the couch. I'll stand. He shrugged and sat down himself, spreading his arms across the back of the couch like he was the king of his castle. Ruth hovered near the kitchen, wringing her hands nervously. So talk, I said. Tell me why you faked your own death. Tell me why you let your daughter think her father was dead. Tell me why you stole from us. Ezra was quiet for a long moment, studying me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. Then he leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, and smiled that cold smile again. I did it because I could, he said simply. Those 6 words hit me like a slap. What? I did it because I could. Because I was tired of being Ezra Mitchell, construction worker, husband, father. I was tired of being broke. Tired of living in that crappy apartment. Tired of eating cheap food and driving a car that broke down every other week. I wanted more. So you faked your death? My voice was rising again. That was your solution? To fake your death and hide. It wasn't supposed to go this way, Ruth interrupted. At first, it was just supposed to be for a few months. Just until things cooled down. What things? What are you talking about? Ezra and Ruth exchanged a look. A whole conversation passed between them in that glance, and I realized with horror that they'd been planning this. Whatever this was, they'd been planning it together for years. I got into some trouble, Ezra finally said. With some people you don't want to be in trouble with. I owed money. A lot of money. And they were going to kill me if I didn't pay. So you faked your death to escape them? And what? Planned to come back when it was safe. Something like that. But you never came back. You stayed dead. Why? He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. Because being dead was better than being alive. No responsibilities. No wife nagging me about bills. No kid needing things all the time. I was free. Each word was a knife in my heart. Naomi needed you. She needed her father. She'll be fine. Kids are resilient. She cries herself to sleep. She draws pictures of you in heaven. She asks me every single day when she'll see you again. That's not my problem anymore. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't the man I married. The man I married was kind and funny and loved his daughter more than anything. This person standing in front of me was a stranger. A monster. And the money? I asked. Why make me pay Ruth every month? Ruth spoke up. That was my idea. I figured you'd want to help your dead husband's poor old mother. It seemed like easy money. Easy money, I repeated numbly. You thought stealing from your granddaughter was easy money? We weren't stealing from Naomi, Ruth said defensively. We were taking from you. And you could afford it. You have a job. I have 3 jobs. I work 70 hours a week. I haven't bought myself new clothes in 2 years. Naomi's shoes have holes in them. We eat rice and beans 6 days a week. I can't afford it. I was never able to afford it. Then you shouldn't have offered, Ezra said coldly. That's when I realized something. They didn't feel guilty. They didn't feel sorry. They felt justified. In their minds, I was the stupid one for believing them. For being kind. For being trusting. I want my money back, I said quietly. Ezra laughed. What money? All of it. Every cent I gave you. That's $7,200. I want it back. Today. We don't have it, Ruth said. You're lying. Look at this place. Look at all this expensive stuff. We spent it, Ezra said. On this apartment. On furniture. On clothes. On Amber. It's gone. My vision went red. You spent my daughter's money on your girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend anymore, thanks to you. Good. She deserves better than a lying, cheating, dead man. I'm not dead. I'm standing right here. You're dead to me. You're dead to Naomi. You're dead to everyone who ever loved you. Fine by me. I stared at him, this stranger with my husband's face, and something inside me shifted. The hurt and betrayal started transforming into something else. Something harder. Something colder. You're going to regret this, I said quietly. Is that a threat? It's a promise. Ezra walked toward me, getting close, trying to intimidate me. What are you going to do, Sarah? Call the police? Tell them your dead husband is alive? They'll think you're crazy. I have a death certificate. I have records. I'm legally dead. You can't prove anything. Can I? Something in my voice made him pause. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and opened the video the building manager had sent me. The one showing Ezra walking into this apartment. I turned the screen toward him. I have proof. I have video. I have witnesses. I have 3 years of bank records showing me paying Ruth. And I have something else too. What? His voice was less confident now. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just figured out how to destroy the person who destroyed them. I have a very good lawyer friend who owes me a favor. And I'm about to make your life very, very complicated. Ruth's face went white. Sarah, please. Think about what you're doing. Think about Naomi. If this gets out, it'll be all over the news. Everyone will know. It'll humiliate her. You should have thought about Naomi before you started lying to her. I shot back. You should have thought about her before you stole from her. This is on you. Both of you. I walked toward the door, my hand on the handle. Sarah, wait, Ezra said, and for the first time, I heard panic in his voice. Let's talk about this. Let's work something out. There's nothing to work out. You made your choice 3 years ago. Now I'm making mine. What do you want? Money. I'll get you money. Just don't. I don't want your dirty money. I want justice. I unlocked the door and opened it, but before I left, I turned back one more time. By the way, Ezra, that accident at the construction site? The one that supposedly killed you? I looked into it. There was no accident that day. No crane malfunction. No investigation. Nothing. Which means someone helped you fake those police reports. Someone helped you stage your death. And I'm going to find out who. His face went completely white. Sleep well, I said sweetly. While you still can. I walked out and closed the door behind me, leaving them standing there in their expensive apartment, bought with my blood and sweat and tears. My hands were shaking as I walked down the hallway. My whole body was shaking. But underneath the fear and anger and hurt, there was something new growing. Something that felt almost like power. I had evidence. I had witnesses. I had the truth. And I was going to burn their world to the ground. Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. I made it to my car before my legs gave out. I collapsed into the driver's seat, my whole body shaking like I had a fever. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. And then I screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw, until my voice cracked, until there was nothing left inside me but empty air. 3 years. 3 whole years of my life gone. Wasted on a lie. My phone buzzed. A text from Naomi's school again. Mrs. Mitchell, Naomi is in the nurse's office. She says her stomach hurts. Can you pick her up? My baby. My sweet, innocent baby who had no idea her father was alive and evil. I wiped my tears, started the car, and drove to her school on autopilot. The whole way there, my mind was racing. What was I going to do? How was I going to fix this? Should I tell Naomi the truth? How do you tell a 6-year-old that her dead father isn't actually dead? He's just a terrible person who abandoned her. When I got to the school, Naomi was sitting in the nurse's office looking small and sad. Her curly hair was messy, her eyes were red from crying. The moment she saw me, she ran into my arms. Mama, my tummy hurts so bad. I held her tight, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo. I know, baby. Let's go home. In the car, she was quiet for a while. Then she said in a tiny voice, Mama, do you think Daddy can see us from heaven? I had to pull over because my vision went blurry with tears. Why are you asking that, sweetie? Because today in school, we drew pictures of our families. And I drew you and me and Daddy. But Daddy was up in the clouds because he's in heaven. And Sarah Thompson said dead people can't see us. She said they're just gone forever. Is that true, Mama? Is Daddy really gone forever? I looked at my daughter's face, so full of hope and pain and confusion. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to tell her yet. Not until I had a plan. Not until I could protect her from the truth. Daddy will always be with us, I said carefully. In our hearts. In our memories. That's what matters. She seemed satisfied with that answer and fell asleep on the drive home. I carried her up to our apartment, tucked her into bed, and then I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I called my best friend, Rebecca. Rebecca and I had been friends since high school. She was a paralegal at a big law firm downtown. When Ezra died, she'd been there for me every single day, bringing me food, watching Naomi, helping me figure out how to survive. But over the past year, we'd drifted apart. I'd been too busy working, too tired to maintain friendships. She answered on the second ring. Sarah? Oh my God, Sarah, is that you? Becca. My voice broke. I need help. I need help so bad. What's wrong? What happened? And I told her everything. About Ruth's lies. About the money. About seeing Ezra alive. About the blonde woman. About everything. I talked for almost an hour straight while Rebecca listened in complete silence. When I finally finished, she said just one word. Bastard. I know. No, Sarah, you don't understand. This isn't just lying. This isn't just being a bad husband. This is fraud. This is identity fraud. This is theft. This is conspiracy. Ezra and Ruth could go to prison for this. My heart started beating faster. Really? Really? And I know exactly who can help you. Remember my boss, Mr. Joshua Martin? He's one of the best lawyers in the state. He handles fraud cases all the time. And Sarah, he owes me. Big time. I covered for him last year when he messed up a major case. He'll take your case for free if I ask him to. Hope bloomed in my chest for the first time in hours. You'd do that for me? Are you kidding? After what that scumbag did to you. I'd do anything. Meet me tomorrow at my office. Bring every piece of evidence you have. Bank statements, text messages, videos, everything. We're going to destroy them. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every moment from the past 3 years. Around 3 in the morning, every time Ruth had cried about being poor, a text from every time she'd hugged me and called Sarah, me a this good is daughter. Ezra. Every time I'd worked a double Please shift don't do to make anything sure crazy. I had that $200 Think about ready. Naomi. And Ezra. I stared at that text my Ezra, for a long time. The man who then used I to wake typed up back. early to make me You don't get breakfast. to use our daughter's The name. man who cried
You
when
gave
Naomi
up that
was
right
born.
when you faked your
The
death.
man who promised to
Lose
love
this
me
number.
until death do us Another part. text came immediately. Except death hadn't I parted can us. explain everything.
His lies had.
It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're a liar and a thief. Please, just give me a chance to make this right. There is no making this right. There's only making you pay. My phone started ringing. Ezra calling. I blocked the number. Then I blocked Ruth's number too. I didn't want to hear their voices. I didn't want to hear their excuses. The next morning, I dropped Naomi at school and went straight to Rebecca's law office. It was in a tall glass building downtown, the kind of place I'd never been able to afford. Rebecca met me in the lobby and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. You look terrible, she said. I feel terrible. She led me up to the 15th floor and into a huge conference room. Sitting at the head of a long table was Mr. Joshua Martin. He was maybe 50, with gray hair and kind eyes behind expensive glasses. He stood up when we entered and shook my hand. Mrs. Mitchell, Rebecca told me about your situation. I'm so sorry for what you've been through. Thank you. Please sit. Show me what you have. I spent the next 2 hours showing him everything. The bank statements showing 72 payments of $200 each. The video from the building security camera. Screenshots of Ruth's lies about needing medicine. The death certificate that was supposed to prove Ezra was dead. Photos of Ruth's expensive apartment. Mr. Martin took notes the whole time, his face getting more and more serious. When I finished, he sat back in his chair and whistled. This is one of the most elaborate fraud cases I've seen in my career. Your husband didn't just fake his death. He created an entire false identity. He got fake police reports. He got a fake death certificate. He staged a fake funeral. This took planning. This took help. That's what I said, I told him. Someone had to help him. The police who came to my door. The construction company that supposedly called. The funeral home. Someone had to be in on it. And we're going to find out who, Mr. Martin said. Here's what we're going to do. First, we file a police report. This is a criminal matter, not just a civil one. Second, we get a court order to freeze any assets Ruth might have. Third, we demand full repayment of every cent you gave them, plus damages for emotional distress. And fourth, we make sure Ezra can never legally claim to be dead again. What about Naomi? I asked quietly. When this goes public, and it will go public, everyone will know. Her school, her friends, everyone. How do I protect her from that? Mr. Martin's face softened. We'll do everything we can to keep her name out of it. And Sarah, you need to think about telling her the truth. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. She deserves to know. I nodded, tears filling my eyes. I know. I just don't know how. Rebecca squeezed my hand. We'll help you. You're not alone anymore. That afternoon, we went to the police station. A detective named Maria Lopez took my statement. She was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes that didn't miss anything. As I told her my story, her expression went from skeptical to shocked to angry. "You're telling me your husband has been alive for 3 years and collecting money from you under false pretenses?" "Yes." "And his mother was helping him?" "Yes." "And you have video proof?" "Yes." She watched the security footage 3 times. Then she made some calls. Then she looked at me with something like admiration. "Mrs. Mitchell, do you realize how brave you are? Most people in your situation would just walk away. They'd be too embarrassed, too hurt. But you're fighting back." "I have a daughter," I said simply. "I have to fight for her. We're going to help you. I'm opening an investigation today. Fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. And I'm going to find out who helped him fake those police reports. If there are dirty cops involved, I want them." Leaving the police station, I felt lighter than I had in days. People were on my side now. People believed me. People were going to help me. But when I got home, that feeling disappeared fast. Someone had broken into my apartment. The door was still locked, but inside, everything was destroyed. Furniture overturned. Drawers pulled out. Papers everywhere. My laptop was gone. My important documents were gone. And spray painted on the wall in red letters were the words, "Drop it or else." I called the police immediately. Detective Lopez came herself, along with 2 other officers. They took photos, dusted for fingerprints, asked me questions. "Do you know who did this?" Detective Lopez asked. "Ezra. Or someone he knows. It has to be. We'll find out. But Mrs. Mitchell, I'm worried about your safety. Whoever did this, they're trying to scare you. They're trying to make you stop." "I'm not stopping. I didn't think so. But you need protection. Do you have somewhere else you can stay? Family? Friends?" I thought about it. My parents lived 3 states away. I didn't want to drag them into this. Rebecca lived in a tiny studio apartment. And then I remembered something. My cousin Miriam. She has a big house across town. I can call her. "Do it. Pack a bag for you and your daughter. Stay there until we catch whoever did this." I picked up Naomi from school early, telling her we were going on a little vacation to Aunt Miriam's house. She was excited. She loved Miriam's house with its big backyard and the swing set. But I was terrified. Terrified that Ezra would find us. Terrified that he'd hurt Naomi to make me stop. Terrified that I'd made a huge mistake by fighting back. That night, sleeping in Miriam's guest room with Naomi curled up next to me, my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another text. "You should have listened. This is your last warning. Drop the case or everyone you love will pay." My hands shook as I read it. But underneath the fear was something stronger. Anger. Pure, burning anger. I texted back. "Come near me or my daughter again, and I'll make sure you rot in prison for the rest of your life. I'm not afraid of you anymore." The response came fast. "You should be." I showed the text to Detective Lopez the next morning. She traced the number. It was a burner phone, bought with cash at a store in a bad part of town. No way to track it. "He's getting desperate," she said. "That's good for us. Desperate people make mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" "The kind that get them caught." 3 days later, Detective Lopez called me with news that changed everything. "Sarah, we found something. We dug into the construction company that supposedly reported Ezra's death. And guess what? That company doesn't exist. It's a shell company, registered to a fake address." "What does that mean?" "It means someone created a fake company just to fake your husband's death. Someone with connections. Someone who knows how to work the system. And Sarah, I think I know who." "Who?" "Ezra's cousin, Seth. He works for the city. In the records department. He has access to everything. Birth certificates, death certificates, all of it. I think he's the one who helped Ezra fake his death. And if I'm right, he's going down too." My heart was pounding. "Can you prove it?" "I'm working on it. But Sarah, if Seth was involved, this goes deeper than we thought. He might have helped other people fake deaths too. This could be huge." I sat down, my legs weak. How many people had Ezra dragged into his lies? How big was this conspiracy? "What do I do now?" I asked. "You stay safe. You let us do our job. And you get ready, because when we arrest them, it's going to be big news. Reporters, cameras, everything. Are you ready for that?" Was I ready? I thought about Naomi. About protecting her. About getting justice for us. "Yes," I said firmly. "I'm ready." But I wasn't ready for what happened next. Subscribe to this channel to support our growth. The call came at 6 in the morning, 5 days later. I was making Naomi breakfast at Miriam's house when my phone rang. Detective Lopez's name flashed on the screen. "We got them," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "All three of them. Ezra, Ruth, and Seth. They're in custody right now." My knees went weak. I had to sit down. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Seth tried to run when we showed up at his house. Made it 2 blocks before we caught him. And Sarah, when we searched his apartment, we found everything. Fake death certificates for at least 15 other people. Bank records. Emails between him and Ezra planning the whole thing. He's been running this scam for years. Oh my God, it gets better. When we arrested Ezra, guess where he was? At the airport, with a one-way ticket to Mexico under a fake name. If we'd waited one more day, he would have been gone. I closed my eyes, relief flooding through me. He'd almost escaped. Almost gotten away with everything. What happens now? I asked. Now you need to come down to the station. We need your official statement. And Sarah, the press is already here. This story is everywhere. Man fakes death, steals from widow wife. You're about to be famous. Famous. The word made my stomach turn. I didn't want to be famous. I just wanted my money back. I just wanted justice. I'll be there in an hour, I said. I asked Miriam to watch Naomi, telling her I had important business to handle. Miriam knew most of what was happening, and she hugged me tight before I left. Make him pay, she whispered. Make them all pay. The police station was surrounded by news vans when I arrived. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting questions. I kept my head down and rushed inside, my heart pounding. Detective Lopez met me at the door and led me to a quiet room away from the chaos. Are you okay? She asked. I don't know. This is all happening so fast. I know. But Sarah, we need to talk about something important. Ezra wants to see you. My blood ran cold. What? No. Absolutely not. He says he wants to apologize. He says he has information that could help your case. He's willing to confess everything if you'll just talk to him for 5 minutes. I don't want to hear his apologies. I don't want to see his face. I understand. But think about it. If he confesses, this case becomes open and shut. No trial. No having to testify. No dragging Naomi through months of court hearings. 5 minutes of your time could save you months of pain. I hated that she was right. I hated everything about this. But I thought about Naomi, about protecting her from this mess, and I knew what I had to do. Fine. 5 minutes. But I want you in the room with me. Of course. They led me to an interrogation room. Gray walls. Metal table. 2 chairs. And sitting in one of them, wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, was Ezra. He looked terrible. His eyes were red and swollen like he'd been crying. His beard was messier than before. When he saw me, his face crumpled. Sarah, he whispered. I sat down across from him, keeping my face blank. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me cry. Detective Lopez stood in the corner, arms crossed. You have 5 minutes, I said coldly. Talk. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You hurt me and Naomi for 3 years. I know. I was stupid. I was selfish. I was scared. Scared of what? Scared of being a man? Scared of being a father? Scared of being a husband. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I owed money to some dangerous people. Gambling debts. They were going to kill me, Sarah. I panicked. So you faked your death instead of asking me for help. Instead of going to the police? Instead of being honest? I thought it would be temporary. Just a few months until things cooled down. But then I realized how easy it was. How free I felt. No responsibilities. No pressure. I could start over. And me? And Naomi? We were just collateral damage. Tears rolled down his face. I thought you'd move on. Find someone better. Someone who could give you the life I never could. Don't you dare. My voice was shaking with rage. Don't you dare pretend you did this for us. You did this for yourself. Because you're a coward. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I hate myself for it. Good. You should. He looked down at his handcuffed hands. The money. All the money you sent. Most of it went to paying off my debts. The people I owed, they found out I was alive. They threatened Mom. Said they'd hurt her if I didn't pay. So I took your money and gave it to them. I laughed bitterly. So not only did you steal from me, you used my money to pay off your gambling debts? That's even worse than I thought. I know it's horrible. But Sarah, if I testify against Seth, If I help the police catch all the other people involved in this fraud ring, they'll reduce my sentence. I might only get 5 years instead of 20. And you want what? My blessing? My forgiveness? I want you to know the truth. All of it. I want you to know that I loved you once. That what we had was real, even if I destroyed it. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. You want to know the truth, Ezra? The truth is that you're not the man I married. That man died 3 years ago. The man I married was kind and brave and loved his daughter. You're just a stranger wearing his face. Sarah, please. I'm not done. You want redemption? You want forgiveness? Then here's what you're going to do. You're going to confess to everything. You're going to give the police every name, every detail, every piece of evidence they need. You're going to make sure Seth and anyone else involved goes to prison. And then you're going to sign away your parental rights to Naomi. His face went white. What? No. Sarah, no, she's my daughter. She was your daughter. But you gave up that right when you abandoned her. When you let her cry herself to sleep every night thinking you were dead. When you stole the money that could have bought her new shoes and a warm coat. You don't get to be her father anymore. Please don't take her from me. I'm not taking her from you. You already left her. I'm just making it official. Detective Lopez stepped forward. Mr. Mitchell, if you agree to Mrs. Mitchell's terms and cooperate fully with our investigation, we can talk to the DA about a reduced sentence. But you need to decide now. Ezra looked at me with such pain in his eyes that for a second, just a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Okay, he whispered. I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. Just tell Naomi I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her. No, I said firmly. You don't get to send her messages. You don't get to be in her life at all. She's better off thinking you're dead than knowing what you really are. I walked out of that room and didn't look back. Over the next 3 weeks, everything happened fast. Ezra confessed to everything and gave the police a list of 12 other people who had used Seth's services to fake their deaths. Some were running from debts like Ezra. Some were running from the law. One was even running from his own family because he didn't want to pay child support. Seth was charged with fraud, forgery, conspiracy, and about 20 other crimes. His bail was set at $500,000, which he couldn't pay. So he sat in jail, waiting for trial, probably realizing his whole life was over. Ruth tried to play the victim, told the police she didn't know anything, that Ezra had forced her to lie. But they found text messages between her and Ezra planning the whole thing. They found receipts showing she'd spent my money on luxury items. They found everything. Mr. Martin, my lawyer, filed a civil suit against all 3 of them for the full amount I'd paid plus damages. $7,200 plus $50,000 in emotional distress damages. We'll probably settle, he told me. Ruth will have to sell her apartment and give you the proceeds. It won't be the full amount, but it'll be something. I don't care about the money anymore, I said. And I realized it was true. The money didn't matter. What mattered was that they couldn't hurt me anymore. The hardest part was telling Naomi. I waited until everything was settled. Until Ezra signed the papers giving up his rights. Until the news crews stopped camping outside Miriam's house. Until I could breathe again. One Saturday morning, I took her to the park. We sat on a bench, feeding ducks, and I held her little hand in mine. Baby, I need to tell you something about Daddy. She looked up at me with those big, trusting eyes. What about Daddy? Remember how I told you Daddy died in an accident? Uh-huh. Well, that wasn't exactly true. Daddy isn't dead. He's alive. But he had to go away for a while because he did some bad things. Her face scrunched up in confusion. Daddy's alive? Can I see him? No, baby. Daddy has to stay away for a long time. He made some very bad choices, and he has to face consequences for those choices. Did he do something wrong? Yes. He lied to us. He pretended to be dead when he wasn't. And he took money from us that he shouldn't have taken. Why would Daddy lie? Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. Big mistakes. And Daddy made a really big one. Tears filled her eyes. Does Daddy not love us anymore? That question broke my heart. I pulled her into my lap and held her tight. I don't know, baby. But I know this. I love you enough for both of us. And you are the most important person in my whole world. Nothing will ever change that. She cried for a while, and I cried with her. But eventually, she wiped her eyes and looked at me. Mama, are we going to be okay? Yes, baby. We're going to be better than okay. I promise. And for the first time in 3 years, I believed it. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. I'd gotten a better job with normal hours. Naomi was doing great in school. She'd stopped having nightmares. She'd stopped asking about Ezra. Ruth's apartment had been sold, and I'd gotten $30,000 from the settlement. I'd put most of it in a college fund for Naomi, but I'd used some to buy us furniture and clothes and all the things we'd been doing without. Ezra was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Seth got 15. Ruth got probation because of her age, but she had to pay restitution and do community service. One evening, Rebecca came over for dinner. We were sitting on my new couch, drinking wine, watching Naomi play with her new toys in her room. "You did it," Rebecca said, raising her glass. "You actually did it. You got justice." "We did it," I corrected her. "I couldn't have done it without you." "So what now? What's next for Sarah Mitchell?" I thought about it. For 3 years, my whole life had been about survival. About working and grieving and paying and suffering. But now? Now I could actually live. "I'm going back to school," I said. "I'm going to get my nursing degree. Something I always wanted to do before I met Ezra. That's amazing. And I'm going to teach Naomi that she doesn't need anyone to save her. That she can save herself. She already knows that. She learned it from watching you." That night, after Rebecca left and Naomi was asleep, I sat on my balcony looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, in a prison cell, Ezra was probably looking at the same stars. Probably regretting his choices. Probably wishing he could go back and do things differently. But I wasn't thinking about him anymore. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was free. Free from the lies. Free from the debt. Free from the ghost of a man who never really existed. And for the first time in 3 years, I smiled. A real, genuine smile that came from deep inside. My husband had died years ago. Every month, I'd sent his mom $200. But then I discovered the truth. And the truth had set me free. Not just free from Ezra and Ruth and their lies. Free to be myself again. Free to build a new life. Free to be happy. And that was the greatest victory of all. The end. Thank you so much for following Sarah's journey from beginning to end. If this story touched you, inspired you, or made you feel something, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Drop a comment below telling me what you thought, and let me know what kind of story you want to hear next. Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter how impossible things seem, you have the strength to fight back. You have the power to change your story. Just like Sarah did. See you in the next one.